キルは失格の理由を聞いたゴンの心はギタラクル、いやキルアの実の兄イルミへの怒りに満ち溢れていた。
イルミヒソカ。
キルアに謝れ。そんなこともわからないの？うん。お前に兄貴の資格なんてないよ。
おお。
兄弟に資格がいるのかな。
おお。Did God actually do that?
友達になるのだって資格なんていらない。
Oh. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
こいつ。
Yeah, that's right.
もう謝らなくていいよ。キルアのとこに案内してくれるだけでいい。キルアを連れ戻す。
まるでキルが誘拐でもされたような口ぶりだな。あいつは自分の足で。
Yeah, okay, come on, man. He had no other option.
自分の意思じゃない。お前たちに操られてるんだから。誘拐されたも当然だ。
ちょうどそのことで議論していたところじゃ。
Is that right?
とレオリオの両方から異議が唱えられてな。
キルアの様子は自称ギタラクルとの対戦中とその後において明らかに不自然だった。対戦の際に何らかの暗示をかけられてあのような行為に至ったものと考えられる。
Yeah, there could be some element of that there. Some.
いかに強力な催眠術でも殺人を強いることは不可能だ。
ならば不合格になるのはキルアじゃなくて俺の方だろう。
キルアは
Interesting.
自らの意思で行動できない状態にあった。よって彼の失格は妥当ではない。
Krapika might be onto something in terms of. Fair enough, though.
二人の総合的な能力はあの時点ではほぼ互角。経験の差でボドロを上位に置いたが、格闘能力を取ればむしろレオリオの方がいいとわしは見ておった。あえてキルアが手助けをするような場面ではなかったじゃろ。
不自然な点なら他にもあるぜ。ヒソカと戦ってた時のあんたの様子だ。あの時一体何を言われたんだ。あんたに何かを告げたヒソカの方が負けを宣言した。変だろ。俺には何らかの密約が交わされたとしか考えられないね。不自然が理由で合否に異論があるというなら、あんたの合格も相当不自然だぜ。
He's not wrong to bring that up.
答える義務はない。
義務はなくても責任はあると思うぜ。
ないな。不戦勝での合格も自然とは言えないな。
Look at this.
何？
どうだっていいんだそんなこと。
It's a tall fellow. Illumi.
人の合格にとやかく言うことなんてない。自分の合格に不満なら満足できるまで精進すればいい。キルアならもう一度ハンター試験を受ければ絶対合格できる。もしも今まで望んでいないキルアに無理やり人殺しをさせていたならお前を許さない。
許さないか。で、どうする？
どうもしないさ。お前たちからキルアを取り戻して合わせないようにするだけだ。
I'll take him from you. I saw him do that in the last episode as well.
さて諸君、よろしいかな？
Oh, he messed up his arm there. Beans. Beans, right?
このカードがあれば民間人が入国禁止の国の約 90%
90%. Interesting.
立ち入り禁止区域の 75% まで入ることが可能になります。公的施設の 95% はタダで使用でき、銀行からの融資も一流企業並みに受けられます。
Yeah, it opens up everything. So many possibilities.
7回ぐらい遊んで過ごせますし、持っているだけでも一生遊んで暮らせるはずです。
Wow.
我々の統計では、ハンターに合格したものの5人に1人が1年以内に何らかの形でカードを失っております。
Lose it.
プロになられたあなた方の最初の試練はカードを守ることと言っていいでしょう。
That's another dynamic.
あとは
You're going to be targeted for it.
試練を乗り越え、自分の力を信じて夢に向かって前進してください。
ここにいる7名を 新しくハンターとして認定する。
How about it? Okay. Feels good to get to this point.
キルアの居場所を教えてもらう。
Back home, I'm
本当に
guessing at this
連れ
point.
戻す気？やめた方がいいと思うよ。
誰がやめるもんか。
後ろの二人も同じかい？
当然よ。
Yes, so they are going to stick together. I like it.
キルは自宅に戻ってる。
Look at his arm, it's still bruised
自
up.
宅？
ククルマウンテン。その頂上に俺たち一族の住処がある。
Of course they do.
クルーマウンテン。
わかった。ありがとう。
He still thanked him.
別に隠してないし、地元じゃ有名だしね。
But there's.
彼らも行ってみればわかるよ。俺たちと彼らじゃ住む世界が違うってことがね。ああ、これ
Yeah, he mangled it up, man.
折れてるよ。
Oh.
面白い素材だ。
He's like, that's my
貴
boy.
様が見守りたいって気持ちがよくわかるよ。それだけに、俺から見れば危険人物なんだよね。できれば今のうちに。
Oh. Ah, you don't want to say that. I was just gonna say.
わかってるよ。短い付き合いだが密かの好みは把握した。で、
Your tastes.
君はこれからどうするんだ？
じっと待つよ。
For the fruit to ripen. Whoa.
果実が美味
あ
しく実るので。クラピカ、どこかわかるか？
He might have.
おい、クラピカ。
Huh?
おう
Oh, he's thinking of something else. He's thinking of maybe
山だよ。
Hisoka and
あいつが言ってた
his.
ククルーマウンテンだよ。
よう、
半蔵さん。
長いようで短い間だったが楽しかったぜ。
Ah.
俺も。
超穴場の観光スポットに案内するぜ。
I hope to see it. I hope to see it.
何か知りたい情報があるか？
Oh, is
す
that
ぐ調べられる
just like a laptop?
うん。じゃあ、ジンって名前のハンターを調べてくれる？ジンフリックス。
Hey,
よーし、ちょっと待ってるよ。
I got a last name. Satots.
厳重なセキュリティシステムとアクセス制限がかけられてて、
Ooh,
一
is
切の
that
情報がシ
so?
ャットアウトされてる。高レベルの重要人物だぜ。
そうなの？じゃあいいや。
お前の親父、予想以上にとんでもねえ人物みたいだな。ククルーマウンテンのことも調べてもらえばよかったな。
確かに。
I'm sure they'll get more chances.
ネテロ会長
Hey,
も
look after those.
もう私たちはハンター同士だ。
You can
行動を
access.
むやみに他のハンターに知られるのは好ましくないだろう。では先にロビーに行ってるぞ。
I like it. Yeah, you could tell Satots is taking. Oh, great shot. Taking a bit of an interest in Gon as well. Look at this.
失礼ながら今しがたの会話が聞こえてしまいまして、あるハンターの仕事を見て、そんな自分が恥ずかしくなりましてね。
A certain hunter, eh? Possibly.
そのハンターは発掘しただけでなく、その後も資材を使って完璧な修復を行い、将来的な遺跡の保護を考慮に入れた上で、
Good for him. Good for
私は
him.
遺跡の美しさよりもその作業工程を思い打ちのめされました。
Is this possibly Gon's father?
そしてそのハンターがゴン君。
It is his father, isn't it?
先ほどあなたが訪ねていたジン・フリークスその人なのです。
Oh.
私も一度お会いしてみたいと思い、彼のことをいろいろ調べてみました。ですが、一言で言えば謎です。彼自身のこと
I'm sure he
は
is.
分かりませんでした。
そうなんだ。やっぱり。
彼は私の手本とするハンターです。
Wow.
一度お会いして礼を言うのが私の夢です。
How about that?
うん。それじゃ。
ああ、ゴン君。ああ、いや。
Oh, Gon, come
お
on.
体にお気をつけて。
Ah. Close. You almost said something there.
出発はいつにする？
今すぐ。
あ、意義なしだ。
わかった。早速チケットを予約しよう。
Okay then. On to the next. Oh, that's a beautiful shot.
ちっとも進まねえじゃねえか。
まずいな。
言っても渋滞ですからね。ここ一本道だし。
それじゃ。
Just walk. Oh, by sea. And so it begins. Let's go. How exciting.
1分でも1秒でも早くキルアを連れ戻したいんだ。
The excitement is understandable, but it's not going to be that easy.
こうして走っているとハンター試験
Ah,
を目指す
yeah,
な
it does.
そうそう。こんなのハンター試験に比べたらへでもないよ。
Woo-hoo-hoo. Good memories.
よーし、空港まで競争だ。よーい。
It's a great moment. I'm so
かくして
smiling.
ゴンたちはパドキア共和国へと向かった。キルアの自宅があるというククルーマウンテンを目指して。
Yes. Love that.
さっきやばかったでしょ。
見てたんですか。不思議な子ですね。つい肩を持ちたくなりますよ。うっかり喋るところでした。
Oh.
本当のハンター試験はまだ終わってないこと。
Does he mean that literally, or is it like a... All right, folks, episode 21. I mean, I thought I had my talking points ready to go, but then, of course, there's that bombshell right at the end. And it's a bombshell that Satotes almost kind of slips up on a little bit earlier, right? He almost couldn't help himself. He felt that he had this urge to just kind of help Gon. That's just Gon, isn't it? That's his charisma. That is his, I don't know. There's something about him. There simply is something about him. And Satotes is yet another person who kind of just felt it, or he feels it, right? I've got to say, one of the things I've really kind of enjoyed here is the role that Satotes plays right near the conclusion of this arc, right? Earlier, I just did not even think he'll be returning in this capacity. I mean, I didn't really think any of them are going to be returning in this capacity. But yeah, all of them are kind of together here at the end of this arc. All of the examiners. I mean, it makes sense. I don't know. Earlier, if you go back to his first appearance, Satotes, that is, I don't know. I wasn't expecting him to end up being in this type of role. I mean, here you have an individual who has his own goals in life still, right? This is not the final product. So, you have someone here in this examiner, Satotes, who I actually felt much more recently is this really established and impressive individual, examiner, hunter, all of that. But then in this episode, you see that he himself feels that he still has a long path ahead of him. This is someone who looks up to Gon's father. I mean, Gon's father is quite the enigma. I mean, that's how Satotes kind of describes him. And, you see that Gon agrees as well. And he pretty much just understands. He's like, yeah, figures. Sounds about right. I mean, the legend of Gon's father just kind of grows exponentially in this episode, doesn't it? It completely kind of takes it into a totally different direction. This is someone who's really quite respected. Someone who is kind of considered a bit of a legend out there. I mean, he's this inspirational figure to many, right? Including Satotes, who hopes to see him and thank him in person someday, right? I mean, I hope to see it. I certainly hope to see it. But I'll come back to all of that. Let's kind of stick to this bombshell at the end there that essentially the exam is still going, or there is another phase. And if it's literally a continuation of the exam, then it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because it appears that this phase of the exam is going to be played out or taking place in the real world rather than, a controlled exam situation or the exam phase situation. And that kind of came to an end in this episode, right? It's kind of like a goodbye to that phase of this anime, the first story arc of this anime. I thought it was a perfect wrap up for it. I mean, by the end of it, you see that the characters themselves are reminiscing about it. So it's essentially both the characters and I getting to reminisce about the things that happened right up until this point. And the thing is, yeah, I was feeling it. They're giving me flashbacks from, these early moments of the exam. And yeah, I was already kind of feeling nostalgic about it. and the characters themselves feel like they've been through a lot. Now they get to step out. Now it truly begins. To me, it felt like now the story begins. But that being said, there is this next phase of the exam that's at play. It'll be interesting to see this part of the exam, right? Because again, it is something they have to pass or accomplish out there. Clearly, it is something that they deem quite crucial to, becoming a hunter, a true hunter. So they have something quite incredible already, right? They've been awarded the license, the hunter license, right? And the way they describe them, there's a great segment, Beans just explains everything and really kind of reiterates just how important the license is, right? And just how incredible it is. It just opens a whole new a whole new world, pardon the cliche, but it truly does. It truly does. These licenses are essentially some of the most incredible things you can have in your possession. Incredibly rare, and it's something you have to earn. I mean, listen, they've established at this point, and they've essentially answered a question I had a long time ago. Can you sell these? Can you sell these? Yes. Once again, they bring up that idea. In the last episode, Satotes mentioned to Gon that, yeah, you can sell it, but ultimately it's kind of useless to someone other than the person it's been issued to or the hunter it's been issued to. But here, Beans kind of reiterates, yes, you can sell it for an incredible amount of money, an obscene amount of money. And, now it's really being kind of established as this target as well, right? That, now that you have it, you kind of do have a target on your back as well, right? And they even gave the stat about 1 in 5 hunters actually misplace or lose their license. So it'll be interesting to see if any of our main cast characters ever end up actually losing it or getting robbed. And I'll come back to Beans and his breakdown of all of the access they have now, right? And again, all the doors it opens up for hunters. But see, that's a license, and they have those, right? They cannot take those from them. Those are their licenses. Yet there is another stage, another level that they do kind of have to pass. But it's clearly a different type of, remaining phase of the exam. So what exactly do these hunters get if they pass that phase of the exam, right? Like, they already have this incredible license. So yeah, I'm really kind of fascinated by this, final phase of the exam, I suppose. So as far as I understand, they are licensed at this point, and of course that license cannot be taken away, right? That's been established, that's set in stone. It's been given, and you cannot, nothing can change that, right? And then, there's this notion of essentially, it doesn't matter. You see Gon just kind of cuts through the bullshit, doesn't he? Because there's a bit of a back and forth. Pokel gets in on it as well, right? He begins to call Kurapika out, and starts questioning the really strange ending to his own fight against Hisoka, right? And then Gon's like, none of this matters. All of this is pointless. You see that he really takes the conversation and the things Satotes had to say to him in the last episode in that room. He really takes all of that to heart. But before I go back to the early stages of this episode, I do want to focus on the ending of this episode, because I felt like it was a great wrap up for this first arc. And as far as my thoughts on the exam arc, I think it did a great job of introducing me to the cast of characters, right? Backstories and motivations. I thought it did a great job of establishing that cast dynamic. Now, they can kind of apply all of that and everything they know about each other out there in the real world, in the field as well, right? Things are going to get exponentially more dangerous at this point, right? The exam, yes, it was dangerous. People died, but it was still a controlled thing. But now they're really out there. And yes, even though it felt really wholesome and it ended off on quite a positive note, as far as I know, there's some dark stuff out there, right? There's a lot of interesting people out there. And then, of course, in that sense, it was really great to see the scope of the world that these characters are a part of, right? All of a sudden, it just got really exciting because, again, like I said, I've only really experienced it through the lens of the exam, right? The controlled setting of the exam, right? They take them to really specific locations, secluded locations like islands and, Trick Tower and all of that, confined spaces, right? Away from the world, essentially. But now, they're out there. And almost immediately you get to see that it's modern, that it's, full of interesting things and places and people. I kind of even had a look at the map, or I get a look at the map. I'm sure if I study that map, there might be something really quite interesting that I might extract from that map, and I'll definitely do that for the next episode. But yeah, it's really quite exciting to kind of open up into the world of this anime, right? There's instability, there's mysteries, there's politics at play. You have Beans who's mentioning things like immigration, right? That you have access to 95%, I believe he said, 90% or 95% of places that are really quite strict on immigration. So that is a lot of access. That's a lot of rare access to places that most people, the majority of the population, normal population, is never going to have the opportunity to actually, experience or go to, right? Exotic places, right? And that kind of goes back to that the opening of the anime that I see before every single episode. So that right there has a lot of potential, doesn't it? This concept of gaining access to countries that limit immigration, right? So perhaps down the line, I might kind of get to see these characters, or at least a few of them, or maybe even one of them. Again, it remains to be seen if they'll be together forever from this point on for the remainder of the story. I can see them splitting up at some point, right? It might be through necessity. It might be through choice, right? Perhaps sooner or later, the path is going to deviate from each other's path, right? As of this point, all of them stuck together. All of them are kind of standing behind Gon, or by all of them, there's two of them, right? Kurapika and Leorio. Right now, they're focusing on Gon's goal, and that is to go after Killua, right? To rescue him. Essentially, it's a pledge of friendship, isn't it? And his older brother Illumi gives up the location, and he's more than happy to give up the location, right? Hisoka even questions him on giving it up, but it's clear that there's no issues, there's no concern, and it's almost as if he wants them to go there, right? And he said something like, "Oh, they'll find out how different our worlds are." Gon is dead set on getting Killua out of there, taking him away from that family. Easier said than done, But like I mentioned in the last episode, Killua seems to have quite a prominent role, right? That they do need him for. And like I said, Illumi seems to be really quite protective, possessive of Killua. So yeah, again, it's going to be quite a challenge if they are to really get Killua out of there. And also speaking of Illumi, Gon is certainly on his radar as well at this point. He has noticed Gon's potential, so much so that he even had the thought to take care of it right now, right? But of course, Hisoka's right there, and he noticed that, okay, Illumi has also picked up on Gon's potential, and that he is someone really quite special, right? The dude broke his arm, and of course, Illumi doesn't even react to it. He's just standing there, but his arm's all mangled and twisted. But yeah, of course, Hisoka let him know that Gon is marked, that Gon is his, that Gon is mine. From speaking from Hisoka's perspective. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that duo kind of proceeds from this point on. Not Hisoka. Illumi mentioned that they just recently met or came across each other. So essentially right before the exam, most likely. But also, Illumi does know him long enough to know Hisoka's taste, right? As he put it. And then, of course, speaking of Hisoka and his next steps, you have Kurapika, who is kind of lost in thought at one point, right? Leorio had to kind of yell at him to get him out of that little trance of his, right? He's deep in thought, clearly thinking about the thing that Hisoka told him, or the information he shared, or something he told him. Again, I believe it might have been related to the Phantom Troop, because again, I believe there is that connection, right? Hisoka and the Phantom Troop. But yeah, as of this point, Kurapika is not pursuing his own goal. That is going to come at some point. But as of this point, he's made the choice to join Gon and to join Leorio. And yeah, I got the answer. But yeah, I got my answer. They are sticking together. And I love it. I love that. But you better believe it's going to be in the back of my mind, right? That Hisoka and Kurapika situation, right? And that setup. And of course, it's going to be in the back of Kurapika's mind as well. So yeah, most interesting, right? Because, like I said a few episodes ago, the Kurapika storyline and the Phantom Troop angle, all of that is really, really quite exciting to me. The potential of that is really quite exciting to me. But let me kind of go back to Gon and Illumi, as Gon still has that death grip on his forearm. But at one point, Illumi reaches out, right? And it's essentially the same thing he does to Killua. He uses the other hand to reach out, and of course, Gon's instincts tell him to really create some distance, almost immediately create some distance between them, because he could just sense that, okay, something is strange about this, right? And something is strange about Illumi, right? Now there's this idea of, these characters believing, and by characters I mean Kurapika and Leorio, believing that, okay, he was under the influence. And yeah, it's not far-fetched. It's not far-fetched. Again, I don't think it's just a clear-cut, he hypnotized him, completely hypnotized him, and he's using him as a puppet, even though that terminology and that verbiage is present. But yeah, like I mentioned in my discussion, it really felt like there is some element of control present. There is something at play here, that Illumi has some level of control over over his younger brother Killua. But yeah, also I thought it was a great little moment, right? You see that Kurapika kind of uses his intelligence. He approaches it from that perspective, right? Really kind of analyzes the situation. And then for Leorio, it's more so just him putting himself on the line. He's putting his license on the line, essentially, for Killua, right? He's actually maintaining that he's the one who should be disqualified, right? Because Killua actually interfered and helped him. But again, some fantastic information came out of this, or some fantastic bit of insight. The examiners and the chairman actually believed that Leorio had the advantage in terms of raw combat ability, in terms of his fight against Bodoro. Bodoro, of course, had the experience, but they firmly believe that no, Leorio didn't need any helping, right? So they don't even kind of buy this whole angle of, it was because Leorio is outmatched or anything. They felt that it was a really even matchup. But see, here's the thing I do have to question. And potentially actually even throws a bit of a speed bump, or I don't know, a bit of a dead end even in my potential theory about there being some level of control or manipulation at play here. You have people like the chairman out here. This is someone that is quite incredible, quite accomplished, formidable. So, I can't help but think that if there was some level of control here or manipulation here, he must know about it. Surely he must know about it, right? Yes, he's saying that no, it's all speculation and they cannot do anything based on speculation. And I agree, right? At the end of the day, yeah, you have to prove it. There's just no concrete evidence or proof of it. But, I'm looking at it a little bit beyond that. I'm looking at it from his perspective, the chairman's perspective, right? Surely he must know, or he must have picked up on any form of actual manipulation that might be at play, right? So there's that angle as well. But I've got to say, I really enjoyed the goodbyes. Hanzo and Gon, you see both of them are on friendly terms. Gon is actually really quite excited and happy to see Hanzo, right? You see Gon is impressed by Hanzo. He thinks of him quite highly. And again, a lot of it comes from their encounter as well. But, right then and there, you see exactly the thing that Hanzo mentioned, that this young man does not hold any resentment towards him. None at all. And of course, I would love to see Hanzo again. That'd be fantastic. And of course, Pokel is on good terms as well. Again, friendly terms by the end of it as they depart. Hell, he even kind of looks up Gon's father for him. But of course, turns out he's not an easy person to look up, right? This dude's a mystery, an absolute mystery. And yeah, he became really quite fascinating by the end of this episode as well. And you know, the thing is, you see in this episode that Gon actually gets to feel quite proud of his father, right? Again, you know, there's that notion of him not having resentment, right? This is someone who left him. But no, here he really feels quite, I don't know, proud, happy. You know, there's this really cute moment. He's beginning to blush because of how impressive his father is and how other people look at him. You know, other impressive people like Satotes look at his father and hold him in really high regard. But yeah, that should do it for this one, folks. If you enjoyed that, consider dropping a like, consider dropping some comments, give me your thoughts. If you are interested in timer-based full length or full opacity or perhaps even early access to the next few episodes right now, consider checking out the Patreon page and potentially supporting the channel. The links are in the description and the pinned comments, also links to social media, if that's your thing. Right then, thank you so much for joining me, folks, and thank you for your time, because time is precious. It really is. And I do hope to see you again soon for essentially a new era, right? The next phase of this anime, right? The next arc of this anime, episode 22. Until then, take it easy.